It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode number 13, and I'm hoping it's a lucky 13. Tonight, due to some confusion on my part, we have madness. We have 5 people recording this at the same time. We've got Ash, and
Hello.
Ray, and Kodra,
Hello.
and Tam.
Hi.
Yeah, so this will be interesting. I've not done one of these podcasts with 5 people, so
I'm sure it'll be great.
I'm sure it'll be amazing, because it's not like, it's all that much different. So, this week, what have you guys been playing? Ash,
Mostly I've been playing Divinity Original Sin.
how's that
And,
going?
Pretty good. I've been playing it almost entirely co-op with Tam as my co-op partner.
Cool.
The other thing I've done is I finished my Fiesta run this week. So
Awesome, and you just reminded me tonight that I totally need to do mine as well. I'm a horrible person.
you have until the end of August, so
Yeah, I've got
plenty of
ways.
time.
I think, on the start of the second world, basically. I think last time I was playing, I was trying to find something good to grind on that I could actually kill. Kodra, what have you been up to?
I have been playing almost exclusively Tomb Raider.
Very cool. I have also been playing a lot of Tomb Raider. I think it might be bear talking about a little bit later, though.
Yeah. And part of the reason is I finally have a computer that can adequately run games like Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, because we totally
Yay.
outed you for running on a toaster last week when you weren't here.
It's now a bread maker.
Sweet! And it's one of those
in,
fancy bread makers.
in fact, the name of the computer is Bread Maker.
That is hilarious.
Mostly because Brian wasn't at the computer when it got named.
So,
Entirely true.
what is it like to be computing in this century?
hey now. The computer I ran was technically of this century. It's just that computers get obsoleted pretty quickly.
Yeah, I
Pretty
pretty much
quickly
swap
means like 6
machines.
years.
I swap machines pretty much every 2 years, so yeah.
It's pretty nice. There was also some other weird nonsense going on with my networking that might have led to
And he cuts out mysteriously?
Perfect timing.
That's priceless. Yeah, so I don't know if he disconnected or if we're about to get like an angrygram from him talking about how he disconnected. But yeah, that was priceless, because I totally thought it was all computer related, but apparently not.
Can you not hear me? Test.
We can
I can
now.
hear you now, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You were just saying about something about network weirdness, and at exactly that moment, you cut out and stopped talking.
Fantastic.
Could not have been timed better.
Again, your push-to-talk light went out.
Yeah, so I
That's
think...
so weird because I was watching as my push to talk light stayed on.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so you have a better machine, but there's still some weirdness going on.
Apparently it followed me.
Apparently, did you do something to cause your previous machine to get haunted?
It's entirely possible.
Like, do we need to have like a sage, smoke ceremony to cleanse your machine of the demons of the past?
Burn it with fire? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Exercise your technology.
But anyway,
I'm just saying. You said it was recent, but you got that computer to play a game that came out in 2008.
No.
2008?
No.
2008.
Tomb Raider was 2013.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. I got that computer to play Warhammer.
Okay.
The reason why I upgraded my old computer was so that because my old previous computer could not run Warhammer Online.
Wow. Yeah. So you were doing an upgrade.
Yes, it's entirely true. I was due an upgrade.
Anyway, to stop picking on you because of your lackadaisical computer upgrading. The coolest thing about getting a new machine, though, is I go through this period where I install everything that it all ever hitched on the previous machine, and crank it all up to full guns and see what it does. So I'm guessing Tomb Raider was your game to do that with.
Tomb Raider is a game I always meant to play, but I never got around to it. And like after the Steam sale as well, it was like, well, I have this game I bought on the Steam sale like 2 years ago or a year ago. Maybe I should play it now. But we can talk about that one later.
Yeah. Okay. Ray, what have you been up to?
I went back to Lego a little bit just to try out a few more of my combos, and then I don't think I've been playing a lot this week. I've been really distracted by my tablet.
Yes, and you haven't talked about your tablet, so I figure you're dying to do so. Tell us about your magical tablet.
Oh, it's the holy grail for artists. I got a Cintiq Companion, which is their Windows 8 tablet PC, and it's awesome. It's beautiful. I love drawing on it. I've been drawing a bunch of the same character over and over again, learning how to actually digitally sketch instead of sketching on paper, scanning it in and lining it. It's been a lot of fun.
It feels like this has also increased your productivity on your chibis for Friday, because you totally knocked it out way ahead of time. So
yeah,
and also had time to do a league chibi as well. So
yeah, I've been trying to do a drawing of my Diana skin concept for the longest time, and I've never been able to get a sketch that feels right. And I think I finally was able to find a pose and a perspective that I really like. I'm trying to figure out whether I should post it now or like wait until an opportune moment or something.
I think it's pretty cool looking, so I would totally post it now. Have you tried to play any games on it yet?
No, I haven't downloaded anything onto it. I've been trying to keep it pristine and unadulterated.
Yeah, I didn't know how well it would game or not. I mean, that's kind of a waste of a Cintiq to game on it, but...
Yeah, well, and it's got an onboard graphics card, so it doesn't do the 3D rendering quite as well. But, I mean, it's got 8 gigabytes of RAM and an i7 processor.
Yeah, so you could probably at least play something like League on it. Okay. Tim, what have you been up to?
Let's see. I spent most of last weekend with Ash at Kodra's, helping him rebuild his computer, and playing a bunch of stuff and relaxing. I had a vacation in about a year and a half, so it was really nice.
Yeah, how all did that go? I mean, like, I know the main purpose of the thing was to convince him to upgrade his machine, but what all did you guys do other than that? Because that shouldn't have taken the entire time.
We played some board games, we ate some food, and we watched a bunch of League.
Cool.
It was really chill. It was chill and nice. I've been playing, as Ash mentioned.
River's going to town in the background.
I have a very excited puppy in the background. I'm not sure what she was sleeping as of 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
I've been playing Divinity, which is hilarious. I started the Shadowrun Returns DLC pack, which I've been having a lot of fun with. And a lot of weird little indie games. Other than that, I've been rebuilding my computer, which exploded.
Yeah, so I didn't even know that had happened until today. You're reinstalling voice so you could join us on this. So did it just decide to die, or was it a hardware failure? Or?
I was turning off my computer before getting on my flight, and Windows popped up a hard drive failing. Please replace.
Oh God!
Message, which didn't seem good. But unable to really do anything about it right then, I turned the computer off and figured, all right, we'll fix it when I get back. While I was out, I picked up a new hard drive, got back, and started trying to recover it. And within, I don't know, about 3 hours of trying to recover it, it failed so badly the hard drive wasn't recognized by the BIOS. And I found out also that it had been degrading so long that it had corrupted the backup.
Oh.
So my hardware backup on a separate drive. And so long story short, everything got nuked. So I'm slowly rebuilding it. And there's a bunch of stuff that's going to be really hard to recover, but such is life.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I've kind of been all over the place. I'm going through one of my what I call them turtle phases, where I'm not really socializing much at all. I'm playing a lot of single-player games. I played a lot of Divinity 2, and that game is really awesome. It's kind of like Fable 2 meets Skyrim meets Guild Wars 1, kind of, with a weird dragony flight sim thing. I did manage to beat it, and it has a sucker punch of an ending. And I intended to play the second part because it pretty much picks up moments after the conclusion of the first one. But I decided I had enough Divinity for the time being. I also sat down on a whim and played Thomas Was Alone on my Vita, and I've not quite beaten it, but I think I'm pretty far along. And that game was totally surprising to me, but I think we're going to talk about it a little bit later as well. Also, I've been playing the hell out of Tomb Raider, and I think I'm a little over halfway through it, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. As far as MMOs, I really haven't played much in the way of MMOs this last week. I keep logging in and then not lasting very long, so it's not a sign of the MMOs, but more a sign of I'm just going through one of my phases where I'm kind of disconnected. Since we talked about Tomb Raider, let's talk about Tomb Raider.
Sure. So I've managed to beat Tomb Raider at this point. Okay, so where to start with Tomb Raider? It's the gameplay, the core interaction is something that's very fun. For me, I haven't played a lot of single player games, so I feel like my guess is that it's a lot like Uncharted.
Quite a bit, yeah. Actually, it's a lot like Uncharted, or at least what I've played of Uncharted.
That it reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed or Arkham Asylum, where I am wandering around a map using all sorts of terrain elements to get to various hard-to-reach places. And then there are various enemies wandering around that I have to deal with my assortment of weaponry. I enjoyed a lot of the stealthier elements of it when I was sneaking around and picking off guards and trying to make sure I didn't get seen. It's like those, all of the gameplay elements work for me. The story is very it's kind of traditional in a sense, but there are like some points where I'm like, this is kind of weird, especially shooting. I'm trying to figure out where you are at. Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much for you.
The temple is burning. If that makes so that's where I'm at.
So has everyone on the podcast played this game that's going to play this game?
Yes.
Okay.
Most likely.
Ray is remaining quiet, so I'm not sure if she'll play it or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind spoilers, though.
There are a bunch of scenes in the game where you are like you come with a crew of people, and as the protagonist, there are a lot of scenes where the men of the crew sacrifice themselves to save you.
Yeah, but there's an equal number of scenes where you as the female protagonist are just absolutely brutalized by the bad guys.
It's also true. There are a lot of scenes where you are getting brutalized, which is uncomfortable, but it's like it's often you're getting brutalized because according to the script you somehow screwed up, and as a result you're getting brutalized. Whereas for a lot of the male characters in it, it's like they are there to sacrifice themselves to save you.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I don't know. Like I feel like I was never that big into the original Tomb Raider. Because
there's no bearing on the new one.
Right. I mean, I didn't have warm fuzzies necessarily going into the game. And that's kind of why I had avoided playing it up to this point, is for whatever reason, the original Tomb Raider didn't do much for me. And while I enjoyed the movies, the character just seemed a little too over-the-top superhero at times. Like, it was a character that was a badass for being a badass. And I liked this more natural progression where, the character, Lara Croft, very much starts off, this naive, person at the beginning and slowly, due to circumstances, becomes a badass as the game rolls on. And I think that's cool. And also for me, I had like the hook for the game for me was it felt a lot like the Arrow television show, where you're stranded on this horrible island of horribles with a bow, and you have to develop the ability to survive with your bow and anything else you happen to find. I do have to say that I've reached a point in the game, and this is a point that happens in almost every game I play, where it feels like the designers just kind of gave up temporarily. And instead of introducing interesting new mechanics, they just throw a bunch of shit at you at once.
See, I really appreciated those points in the game where it was like, okay, now there's a whole bunch of guys to get through. Because for the most part, I could deal with those guys in a number of varying ways. Like there's typically terrain elements I can destroy, or there are explosive barrels for me to try and catch, or I can switch up between my various weapons. This is like the one time in the game where ammo is actually an important factor, and it'll make me switch off of my rifle and into my pistol or my bow or my shotgun, but I really never use the shotgun.
Oh, I use the shotgun all the time. Like, it was my two favorite weapons that I flipped back and forth between were bow for long range and shotgun for up close. And anytime I needed to take down something quote-unquote difficult that I couldn't take down with a bow, I use the shotgun. I rarely ever use the rifle.
The rifle eventually gets a silencer and a scope.
Okay, that might make it useful to me, but like right now it's basically, once I got grenades, it became a vehicle for me to fire grenades, and that's it. That's the only time I ever use it.
Yeah.
Just because it takes so many shots to take down anything with the rifle.
It takes the rifle is a very accurate weapon, and so I mostly use it for getting headshots. So the amount of damage it did was irrelevant.
You see, I always seem to use the bow for that, because I picked up the recover arrows trait early on, so I would bow snipe things and then go recover the arrows, and that was pretty much how I made it through the bulk of the first part of the game.
Yeah.
What's weird for me too, though, is like I'm playing this on the PlayStation 3 because in part I have been trying to force myself to play more console games and more console shooters, especially with a controller. So a lot of this game has also been me getting used to headshots with a controller. And I'm a little bit slow, admittedly. Like, I am nowhere near as fast at getting a headshot with a controller as I am with a mouse, but it's been good. Like, I think it's worked out pretty well.
I may have some training in the art of getting headshots with a controller after an entire year of playing Halo 4 hours a night.
Yeah, see, there's been a couple games recently, and it really started with Destiny. Those are the first games I've really played with a controller. I never played Halo. Or that's a misnomer. I never played Halo on a console. I played the PC port, played it quite a bit. I played lots of PC shooters, but I've never really played them with a controller. So it's been a training myself to play games that way type thing. Also, I've really enjoyed the narrative experience, and that's something I had fought previously in the past.
You can't see the huge smile on my face.
I know, like Tam can testament. How many conversations have we had where I have complained and moaned about not letting a game just let me play the thing? I had to go sit through all this stuff, and I guess to some extent I grok what it's trying to do now.
I had a document that was games I wish Bell would play.
And let me guess, Tomb Raider was one of them.
I don't remember, actually.
Yeah, and I blogged about this a bit this morning, and I realized that for the most part, since the advent of the MMO, that's all I've really played. Like, I will duck my head out periodically to play a very open-worldy, sandboxy type game, but I haven't forced myself to be exposed to a lot of quote-unquote modern games that are a more narrative experience. And
That
I have fought the hell out of playing them.
that was definitely a switch that I made with the same reluctance a few years back. Absolutely convinced that my opinions were going to be validated. I mean, there were a couple of games that I played that absolutely did, and then I forget what it was that I stumbled upon. That was a game that I expected to hate and actually loved, and was like, "Wow, what else have I been missing?" And it just sort of opened my mind to a whole bunch of different games.
Yeah, Tomb Raider is kind of acting in that role for me. Like, so many of these games I've played in spite of the game. Like, Mass Effect is a deeply story-based game, but there's a lot of sandboxy open-world elements that let you go wherever the hell you want to go. So I kept telling myself I liked the game because of those elements. Or you play a BioShock game or something like that, and they're a little less on rails than some shooters are. So sure, okay, I kind of liked that I could, con the enemies into doing the work for me. But yeah, this is the first game that's a pure, I am playing a movie that I've really enjoyed. Like, or I've allowed myself to enjoy.
Yeah, I developed a new rule along with all of my video game rules. I have way too many of them. but from the when I buy a console to whatever. But I try to play at least one game, ideally two a year, that I don't feel like I should play. Like, that I don't think I would enjoy. Just because sometimes I'm surprised. And if I play two, usually one of them surprises me, and I find something that I really like about it.
Yeah, so I'm totally going back and playing games that I had written off for one reason or another, just to see if they're magically any better. And one of those yesterday was Witcher, the original Witcher.
Advised.
Yeah, and Ash told me, don't do this, but I did it anyway. And my God, that game has the worst control scheme I've ever seen. I thought maybe there was a controller option that I was missing somewhere, but no. It's horrible. So that is definitely a game that is why Let's Play videos exist. Because I'm kind of curious about the storyline elements that happen in that game, but there is no way I'm going to be able to suffer through the controls to play it.
So, speaking of very story-driven games,
Yes.
what'd you think of Thomas Was Alone?
I am shocked and amazed that I love that game. I did not expect to like it. Like, I expected, it's a cute little puzzle game, but I did not expect to actually genuinely care about the characters.
It's incredible. It does an incredible job of it.
Like, these are boxes, and even when the narrator isn't talking about a specific character, every time you move that character in your head, you are creating a narrative track based on the things you know about it.
Yep.
Like, every time you move Claire, you totally imagine her being a superhero block. Right now, I'm not all the way through the game, but I got to the Gray and Joe section, and I've not played anymore. So late 7s, early 8s, something like that.
Yeah, you're getting near the end of it.
Yeah.
There's still a couple of hilarious characters left.
Best moment in the game is the Thomas meets the internet.
Yes.
That is the highlight of the entire game experience for me.
Yeah,
and the cats that can't spell.
Yes. And then, like, the religion of Thomas, up and to the right.
Yes.
You always must go up and to the right.
Except for when you don't go up and to the right.
It's
there's a lot of really challenging moments in that game. Like, the level that I had to do the most over and over was the one with the wall of spikes moving across the screen. And you have to move, I think, Claire and long, skinny, yellow block that I can't remember the name of right now. John! Okay, yeah. I think you have to move Claire and John. And there's a wall of spikes going across the room.
the two most egotistical characters in the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
The James and Thomas levels are really freaking hard. The ones where you have to work against themselves. Like, they each work against the others, and you just slowly move them a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's a really great game. But at the same time, it's a gameplay experience that's only going to really work once. Like, I don't feel like another Thomas Was Alone game will ever come out and have the same impact. Of course, he won't be alone anymore.
Oh, you mean like a sequel? Yeah, I wouldn't want to play a sequel, but there's a lot of games like that.
I'm okay with it. I like to see I feel like when we become okay with these sort of one-shot experiences, we get a lot more variety.
Yeah. I mean, and the story behind this game is pretty great. It's the way this guy learned Unity. That's cool. I mean, he built this very simple game at its core, but it's very deep in its gameplay. And I like it a lot. I like I said on my blog, I did not think this was going to be a Bell game, but it has turned into one, or maybe the definition of what games I like is changing all of a sudden, and that might be interesting in itself.
I don't know that we're ready to have you play through Gone Home quite yet.
No. I have looked at it numerous times, but yeah, I just don't know if I'm there yet. Like, I'm getting used to narrative as a thing to go along with the bloodshed. I'm not sure if I'm ready for narrative with no bloodshed at all and no interesting mechanics to go with it. Like, it's all about the narrative. Yeah, I'm just not there yet. Maybe someday.
Speaking of games that are entirely about the narrative.
Yes.
Yes.
I fear he did that again.
Blah, 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 blah.
Hi.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I played through the Stanley Parable.
Okay. That is a game I have not played. And I keep expecting one of these days I will wake up and Tam has griefed me with a copy for Steam Powered Sunday. But yeah, that game, I have interest on a cursory level because it's so weird, but I'm not sure what I would feel about it. What did you think of your playthrough?
So I totally get the meta narrative now. Like, at first I saw it via the trailers and people like showing funny things, but like the ultimate meta narrative is the conversation about people who play games and people who make games and the conflict that exists there.
The Stanley Parable is a game about game design.
Yes.
From without being a game from the perspective of the game designer necessarily.
It's there are some really funny moments in it.
Like, is it game design from the perspective of the gamer?
So you are the gamer playing the game, and the narrative is the game designer, and he is telling you how you are supposed to play the game. And you can choose to follow the game's design, or you can try and break the game in whatever method you want. And it's very, very funny.
I feel like I would probably be consciously trying to break the game, but
It wants you to.
It wants you to.
Like that sounds like that's probably the whole point, is to get you to break the narrative.
It absolutely is, and then they will tell you what they think when you do that.
That's funny.
Yeah. It's a very weird game. There are some endings that I am not willing to put up with the nonsense to get to.
Yeah, I've heard something about some of the do this thing for 3 hours and get a special ending type thing.
Well, the narrator designs a new game within it, and he's like, hey, I need somebody to playtest this game. Why don't you just sit here and play this game for 4 hours, and when we come back, we'll run through a brief survey.
Yeah, and I've heard it legitimately you play it for 4 hours. And
You play it for 4 hours.
yeah, that's so insane. Like, I don't think I could do that. Like, I feel like it was probably worth it the first time somebody did it to record a video of it, but yeah, that moment's passed at that point. So I don't know.
But yeah, there are some really funny dialogue, narration that occurs in that game, and there's also some really really dark stuff that goes on. But it's definitely worth. At this point, it goes on to Steam sale and it's like $6. It's definitely worth that.
Yeah. My problem is I have such a backlog that every time I consider purchasing it or Gone Home, I think to myself, there's so many other games that are much more like what I would want to play anyway, that I should just play one of those from my backlog.
Yeah, I have a lot of games in my backlog that will take a whole bunch of hours, but I've managed to whittle down the play this in an afternoon. And I'm finding that I really enjoy the play this in an afternoon style of games every so often.
So speaking of games that take several hours from you, I put a game on my wish list, and Ash totally griefed me by giving it to me. And I mean grief in the nicest possible sense of the word.
It was in a 4-pack. Was I supposed to not give it to you?
Divinity Dragon Commander is the weirdest game I have played recently. I feel like we need to like almost devote an entire show to just how vastly different the various Divinity games are. This one is weird. Like, it is a Civ clone and a Warcraft StarCraft clone and a weird flight simulator and a political intrigue game with romance elements. It's a really confused game. But at the same time, I find it really intriguing. It's not that great of a Civ clone, and it's not that great of a RTS. But when you combine all the elements together, it is done in a really good way. And it's this insane rabbit hole if you allow it to be. In that basically, you've got countries on the map, and then you have this whole Civ game where you build up forces and then you try and take over a new territory. And when you take over the new territory, you're given one of two options, to where you can either have your commanders lead your forces, and when that happens, it automatically resolves the combat, and it's just, is my number greater than your number? Okay, I win. Or you can choose to lead your forces in battle, and then you play this complex RTS where you take over territory and gather resources and, build up units and send them after the other player. And there's been several times where I had a disadvantage of units going into the battle, but I still won because I out-RTS'd the AI. And it's a weird, weird game. But it's cool.
It's a weird series.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Like, I feel like that Larian or however you pronounce that.
I don't know how you say that either.
Has a really cool universe, and they also have ADD. And they can't decide to make the same game twice. So, whereas Divinity 2 is kind of like this weird Skyrim-esque or Elder Scrolls-y-esque game. You've got, the first one was a Diablo clone, very much. Original Sin looks like Neverwinter Nights. Am I correct? I haven't played enough
more or less
to really. And then you've got this one that's kind of Age of Wonders, but look, we have this really cool dragon tech, so we're going to let you use that too.
So the original game, Divine Divinity and Divinity 2, ended up as action games because of publisher pressure.
Did they originally want to do a Neverwinter Baldur's Gate style game?
That's the impression that I got, yeah.
Okay. Like,
Original Sin is pretty much the game they wanted Divine Divinity to be. Also, the name Divine Divinity is also apparently publisher pressure.
Really?
So stupid.
That is I seriously, the reason why I did not play that game is because, one, it has the weirdest couple of names, and two, I could not be bothered to Wikipedia to figure out which game I should start with.
I did not pick up Divine Divinity because it was called Divine Divinity.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, it looked like a really cool game, but it had a horrible name. And then, like, on Steam, it would have Divine Divinity and Beyond Divinity.
So
which one do I start with? I assume Beyond is the second one, but
I have to ask: is the sorcerer stuff from all of the previous games as well?
It's
'Cause-
mentioned in Divinity 2 as a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just
Original
gonna
Sin
say
is a prequel, though, so who knows what its state's going to be
Well,
in by the end of the game.
Dragon Commander is a prequel directly before Divine Divinity. So I don't know where Original Sin plays in, if it's before or after Dragon Commander.
It's before Dragon Commander. It's before all the other games in the series.
I just want
I
to
don't
point
know
out
what-
that sorcery, spelled SOURCEROR,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like source, as in the
Yeah,
source
it's
of
from
something.
Terry Pratchett.
Yeah,
It's
it's
from Terry Pratchett.
okay. Sure.
Lifted straight, yeah.
That still hurts me on a level.
It's.
Well, you know,
I really like their setting though. Like
the art of using the source.
I like the Divine and I like the Dragon Knights. They're cool. Like I think it's a cool back and forth between the 7 divine, or the, I guess the divines are the Divine was of the 7, and then the Dragon Knight ties its lineage to the actual dragons. So I think it's a cool concept, at least.
So, are you? Have you played any of the original Sin yet, Bell?
I created a character. I mean, like,
Okay.
I created a character, and yep, this is what I expected it to be. Because it was like, I didn't fire it up until like 11:45 one night after having played Divinity the rest of the night. So I haven't even gotten into it. Like, I can kill my save. I'm on a beach. That's as far as I've gotten, which is literally where you get dumped into the game.
Yeah. I was
that
just
game is so good co-op.
Yeah, I need a
Yes.
co-op partner, and I'm expecting it to be you, Bell.
Okay, I have totally like penciled in that for whatever I decide to play. Mostly I was wanting to beat Divinity, and now I kind of want to beat Tomb Raider. But yeah, at any point I can play. I mean, Tomb Raider will always be there. Let's see other
It's not
things.
that long.
Man, Divinity 2 was a lot longer than I expected it to be. That game, like, and I feel like I barely did anything. And that game's one of those games that is very much punishing if you do things out of the wrong sequence. There are several points in that game where if you did not do this thing, you can't do it anymore. Like, it seals off past options. So
There's something that would have driven me crazy at one time. And more lately, I'm kind of excited by it. Like, it makes me feel like my decisions are meaningful.
well, to some extent, it's a relief for me. Like, okay, now I don't have to spend the next, 40 hours faffing about in the wilderness looking for the things I missed. I know, okay, everything from the first world is completely gone now, and I could just move on with my life. Because I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a completionist, but at the same time, I totally fire back up old Skyrim saves to look for crap I missed. So
Oh, I'm reminded, as my Steam pop-ups inform me, in addition to my friend Jug playing Transistor almost obsessively over the last few days since I got it for him, my other buddy Rebo has been playing Valiant Hearts.
what is it?
Says it is amazing.
Okay. I will probably pick that up for a console, honestly.
I have to put. I'm putting it on the list for somewhere because apparently it's really good.
That's a new thing for me. Like, there are certain games that, like, I'm deciding I would rather play on a console. Like, I do already have a pre-order in for Last of Us when it gets released on the PS4.
Nice.
I decided not to mess with waiting for the PS4 version of Tomb Raider. I just, like, I figure I've got it in 2 places. It seems silly for me to get a third version just to play it. And all of the videos that I watched about the differences were, I really didn't care about, Lara Croft's hair particles. That was not a thing that bothered me. Like in fact, I kind of like the clumpy version from the PS3 better, just because it's not as distracting. So I feel like I am not the key audience for their changes. Yeah, because I watched this video talking about the PS4 version, and they were talking about, like, you know, the individual physics of the hair particles and the sweat mapping so that you can see the individual sweat droplets rolling off each side. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to kill some stuff. That's it. Like, I'm not really watching, you know, the blood pooling on her or the sweat. That's not what I'm in it for. Like, so yeah, the PS3 version is fine, and I think it's plenty pretty, and it gave me a good excuse to hook it up to stream it through the PC so I can at least take screenshots, which makes me happy that I can now screenshot consoles easily.
Nice. That's really handy.
Oh yeah, it's cool. Like it was totally a painful thing to put in place, but it is nice to be able to take screenshots for my blog as I'm playing a game rather than play Google image search bingo trying to find, one, an image that I don't think the author is going to care if I use, and two, one that doesn't have advertisements all over it.
I'm discovering, as I mess about writing a blog, that I don't take enough screenshots.
It's a thing that I've had to learn over the years. Like, if you want to talk about something, every so often I say, oh, have I taken a screenshot recently? Or every moment I have one of those, wow, this is really cool looking, I should take a screenshot.
I get lost in the moment, and this is true of real life too. Actually, I get lost in the moment and forget to take pictures, screenshots, anything.
Yeah, I've since I started the daily blogging thing, it's become very aware that I need screenshots, or at least screenshots break up the text. So I try really hard to take screenshots. But the games that I am super into and like laser focused on, you can tell because I will go for like hours without taking a screenshot, and then all of a sudden I will take like 5 in the same area just because I remembered, oh crap, I should be taking screenshots. So okay, are there any other games that we're just dying to talk about this week? Because I have a few other news blurbs that I find interesting.
Sure.
Okay, so one of the things that I'm dying to talk about, for potentially not the reasons why someone would be dying to talk about this, is I found it really interesting this week that Rob Pardo left Blizzard. And the reason why I find this interesting is that that's basically the first of a certain group of Blizzard employees to leave. And that is the former EverQuest Raiders. And I find it interesting that it's taken this long for one of those folks to leave. Because there's a whole group of them that were all raid leads in EverQuest, and they were hardcore, the most hardcore of hardcore. And I find it interesting that one of them has finally left. I'm not, drawing any inference of that. I find it interesting that it's taken this long for one of them to leave the game.
I don't know what his personal contributions were enough to really have an opinion on it.
I know he was part of the early raid design team, along with Teagle and Four. And those three especially were all Teagle, and I don't know what Rob Pardo's game character was, but those two were in Legacy of Steel on, I think, Prexis server, and Four was Führer from Fires of Heaven on Vashon server, and they were like the two biggest raid guilds at the time.
Teagle left WoW in 2009, but he's still at Blizzard working on whatever their other project is.
Yeah, but he's still at Blizzard, and that's, I don't know, I found it interesting that, that was the first of there's been various other people that have left. And Ghostcrawler was admittedly a huge one to leave, but I think Pardo was there before WoW, and he worked on Diablo 2, so he had been a long-time employee. I just thought it was interesting because that's kind of a core, like a member of what I would consider the core team, or at least the names people know. So I don't know. I don't have any real commentary other than that, but I just found it interesting.
It's funny. It reminds me of a post that a professor of mine put up, or I guess he wasn't necessarily a professor, but he linked Christopher Weaver, a founder of Bethesda Softworks, has a bunch of storied video game history, and he shares a link. Mashable did a how one man's vision changed the video game industry, talking about Chris Weaver, and he links it with the comment. It is a very nice piece, but as we all know, it is never one person's vision. In reality, it is always the team. I may have created the company, but to everyone who ever pulled a company oar, thank you. And it kind of reminds me. I'm always amused at the importance that people place on a single person moving to a company or leaving a company. Because I don't know that I've ever seen a game or a studio have such a major difference, any kind of major change as a result of some big name person leaving or changing.
So I can totally give you an example of when that happened and when it had a massive change. And frankly, it was a change for the better, but when Brad McQuaid left Sony Verint, whatever you wanted to call the company, that was a significant change in the direction that game took.
That's fair.
I mean, it's a night and day difference of around here. This is a weird slantwise example. Around here, there's a hospital, and the founder's wife loved the color pink, and therefore everything in the hospital had to be pink and seafoam green. They flew in rare pink marble from Italy, and the entire facade of the hospital is in this ungodly baby pink. The moment she died, there were people with paintbrushes in that hospital changing the colors, at least getting rid of the seafoam green. So it happens occasionally, and I don't necessarily think this is going to make much of a difference. I just find it interesting that, because, this is a name I would kind of reference as one of the core team, and now they're gone. So
yeah, and in the case of Rob Pardo, I think that it's possible that some pretty significant changes may or may not occur.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Ghostcrawler, which was a funny one for me.
He gets credit for absolutely everything that happened while he was there.
Oh yeah, totally. And really, I mean, what all was he actually responsible for other than... I feel like Ghostcrawler, a lot of what he did for the company was act as a lightning rod.
Quite possibly.
And he's been unbelievably quiet since taking the position at Riot.
Well, I mean, I
that's only in comparison to the people they already had there.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, Riot takes a very vocal when it comes to their developers on forums.
So another thing that happened this week is my stupid straw poll. I'm not at all surprised by the results. And granted, there's nothing scientific about my poll. I polled a group of people that are already inclined one way or another. But as that poll ran on, and I think last count, it was around 250 people took the poll. Roughly 30% said they subscribed to Wildstar. And that doesn't shock me.
30% is pretty much right in the...
That's honestly what I expected the conversion rate would be, was around 30%. Probably at another time, the conversion rate was significantly higher, but now, when there's so many options, I think getting 30% is pretty good.
30% is about the best that you can hope for pretty much any MMO since the release of World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Even EverQuest didn't have that.
I think that's doing pretty good. And even on this podcast, I think most of us subscribed except for Kodra.
Yeah, I haven't subscribed yet. I'm not sure I will ultimately. It's not sticking with me, and I have other stuff I can do.
Yeah, like, I'm in a weird place with Wildstar right now that I enjoy the game. I think it's a valuable experience, but I I cannot shake the feeling that we totally rolled on the wrong faction.
Really?
Yeah, totally. Have you been on Exile side on Avendra?
Briefly?
There are easily twice the number of people in any of the starters as there are Dominion. Additionally, every single person that I know that is not in the Alliance of Awesome community rolled Avendra Exile. So Machiavelli's Cats, a bunch of these other guild groups all rolled Exile on Avendra. So, like, I feel like had we gone on Exile, we totally would have had plenty of raiding opportunities with people that we already kind of knew.
I hate all 4 of those races.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of them. Like, I kind of like Granok, and the humans are humans, so...
Yeah, but I don't play humans in anything.
Their humans are as good as
Humans
any
are boring.
humans. But yeah, like, I actually
Sorry,
I don't
Tam.
mind the Mordesh. Like, I don't... Like, if I make them crazy zombie mechano looking, I'm okay with them. Otherwise, they're just elves. But yeah, like, so I'm torn, especially as our guild has essentially disintegrated around ourselves. Like, I don't feel like we're probably ever going to, and that's the other problem is, like, I have done a lot of outreach on Twitter and various other social networks trying to find Dominion players on Avendra, and I've maybe found 2 other people that are playing Avendra Dominion from my various social circles. So yeah,
For me, as long as I have a group to run the dungeons with, and we we only need a handful of people for that.
yeah,
But even getting 5 is a little problematic right now.
there's just not people on right now. So I don't know. I'm still enjoying the game, but I just haven't wanted to be around people lately. So I've been playing a lot of single player stuff. And I went through the same thing last year about this time, where I just wasn't logging into voice chat, or I wasn't even playing MMOs. So at some point soon, I will decide I'm bored by myself, and we'll start playing MMOs again. And I'm just hoping there's people in Wildstar when I do. Okay, so any other major news that we want to talk about before we start wrapping things up?
It's been really quiet on the gaming front lately. I mean, Steam sale, sure, but
Yeah, I mean, and Steam sale was Steam sale. Like we talked about last week, it was kind of a lackluster occasion. I mean, it loses some of the focus when it's the same stuff every single time there's a Steam sale.
They got a fair bit of money out of me this time.
Oh, they always get a fair bit of money out of me. That's sad. Like, the most exciting thing for me was the fact that there was a very small discount on Divinity Original Sin. And that game has blown up in the internet zeitgeist this week. Everybody seems
Turns out
to be
it's
playing.
good. And nobody knew about it before it came out, including myself.
Yeah,
it's a really
but
good game.
I'm kind of disheartened because I know that most of the people that are playing it this week won't be playing it next week.
What, Divinity?
Yeah.
That game is also long.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's...
Well, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But, you know, like, if
I
Kodra
saw some
and
people
I...
express their opinions about it on Twitter, yeah.
If Kodra and I do it, it'll definitely hold some my attention for a while. I'm
Sounds good
really
to me.
into that sort of game. Like, I really have been enjoying Wasteland 2 as well. That game is really good.
How finished is that game?
I haven't gotten very far, but the content to me feels pretty finished. It's got a release date. I don't remember what it was, but Warren rattled it off. Maybe August, something like that. It's pretty far along. It definitely feels like the original Fallout, but with a squad instead of just you.
Oh, because the Steam sale came up, I did play another game this week that I forgot about.
Okay.
I finally messed around in Spin Tires.
Oh God.
Simultaneously, it is exactly the game you think it is. and I absolutely understand why people find it so compelling. It's such a strange. I don't know if I even want to call it a game.
Yeah, it's like
A simulator?
Yeah.
People keep comparing it to Gary's Mod.
Yeah.
That it's more a play box or like a toolkit type thing than
It's an
a
experience.
fully conceived game.
Yeah, I feel like there's like this recovering breed of experiences that aren't really video games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's probably as much of a game as, say, Landmark is a game currently. But Spin Tires is still in development, isn't it?
I think so.
Like, I feel like it's a really awesome engine to build like a rallycross game on.
Well, that's the interesting thing is that with something like EverQuest Net or with Landmark, I feel like that's the foundation for something that will eventually be a game.
Yeah.
With Spin Tires, it feels like a complete experience. It doesn't feel like a foundation on which you build something else. It is the thing itself. And you may or may not be interested in that thing, but it is what it is. Like it's not a stepping stone to something else. It's a complete experience in and of itself.
Yeah.
And it may expand, but it makes me think of the Oculus Rift wingsuit sim.
Yeah. That's a really cool demo kind of thing, but it's not really a fully conceived beginning, middle, end type game.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's interesting that we're seeing more of those. Like it isn't a game. It's not even trying to be a game. It's like I keep coming back to the word experience because it really is an experience. It's not a game with rules.
Honestly, what it kind of reminds me of is, and this is going to probably predate everyone in this channel, but the Amiga demo
I'm so
scene.
sorry.
The Amiga demo scene from the late 80s, early 90s, where these things came out that weren't really a game and weren't really a music video and weren't really just video, but it was, these coded demos that you ran and sometimes had interactive elements that were just cool. Like that was just a thing that, you experienced. And that's kind of what a lot of these somewhat indie experiences remind me of, is the demo scene.
Yeah.
But at this point, we've even editing aside, we've run a bit, and I have copious amounts of editing ahead of me. So let's wrap this up. Ash, where can we get a hold of you?
You can find my blog at ashfang.com or find me on Twitter at hidden_wings.
Ray, where can we find you?
So littlerayson.com.
Cool. And check out her Friday Cheapies. Kodra, hopefully you're still connected and can tell us where you're at.
You can find me at Kodra22 on Twitter or at thekeengamer.com for my blog.
Okay, Tam, you don't have connection information, but I guess you could always plug what you plugged last time you're on, or if you have anything that you want to plug.
I don't have any particular plugs this time.
Okay.
Play Transistor if you haven't.
Yes, I
Play
definitely second
something.
that.
Play something that you don't think you might enjoy.
There you go. I am the author of Tales of the Aggronaut, aggronaut.com. You can catch me on Twitter at Belghast and on a Nook at Belghast as well. And between those, you should be able to get links to pretty much everything else I do. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully you enjoyed the show. See you guys later. Bye.
Later.
See you.
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 Later.
See you.